Just before we get into this amazing video with Luke Belmar, if you're interested in leveling up mentally or financially, then you need to join my free and private Telegram group where we teach you how to make your very first $10,000 a month online. We also talk about the winning mindset, and I even share with you the different winning crypto and FX trades that my team and I are making. So I'm going to leave the link for you in the description below. Joining me on the show today, we have an extremely successful entrepreneur who has actually blown up on the internet over the last year and a half. He was born in Argentina and moved to the US at just 16 years old and worked his way up all the way from waiting tables, door-to-door sales, all the way to being one of the largest PancakeSwap holders and making millions of dollars in e-commerce. It is the co-founder of Capital Club, Luke Belmar. Luke, welcome to the show.
What a wonderful introduction. Thank you for having me.
So good to have you here. I was a little bit stressed about it because you've done so much.
It's great to be here. You've done so much. I've been looking at some of your work, and I think we're going to have a great conversation because I think we resonate on a lot of things.
Absolutely. And I've been going through your stuff for the last year and a half, learning a lot from you. But I think what really struck me the most was your background. You came from Argentina to the US at 16 years old, which is actually incredibly young. So I'm fascinated. How did you make that move? Did you come with anyone? Did you know where you were going? You know, how were you making money? You were waiting tables and then you sort of put that money into crypto. Can you explain that journey of how you got to the US and built everything up?
I think the first thing to understand is that where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to become successful, you can be successful. It doesn't matter if you're 16, if you're 14, if you're 22, if you're 30. The moment that you unlock the mental framework that, hey, my life can actually be something more than the village that I grew up in or the construct that my parents or the narrative that I've been raised under. And thankfully, I got that data set unlocked at an early age. At 16, I realized, hey, my parents were working regular jobs. Argentina had just defaulted, right, over the last couple of years with their debt. And they were in a situation whereby the country was pure socialism. I looked at America. I'm like, I can literally go and get rich. I can go and build a business. I can go and do things that I want to do. Now, waiting tables for me was a privilege. Like I would go and make $100 in a night. I'm coming from a third world country. That is a lot of money. Sure, I have to pay for rent and things of this nature, but I was like, whoa, I'm at the bottom of the echelon here, just getting started, and I'm making a couple $100s a day. What I need to do is get extremely intelligent. So what I started doing is focusing on unlocking data sets, becoming extremely knowledgeable, because I understood that if I wanted to play the game of life, it couldn't just be hustling. It couldn't just be working hard. I needed a strategy, and I needed to learn from people that had strategies, piece those things together, find my winning strategy, what it means to be successful, and attack that strategy. And Bitcoin, crypto was part of that strategy. Why? Easy multiplier, low risk, high reward. I was part of the bull run in 2017. I lost money in the 2017 bull run, but I knew it was going to come back. I knew social media was going to play a massive part into it because I got into crypto because of social media. So I was like, what I need to do is position myself. So I made a couple hundred, well, I was about to drop a big amount of something. I was able to make a good amount of Bitcoin. And when it was a couple $100, and I had a good stash of Bitcoin saved up. And I realized that all I needed to do was maintain that money, stashed away because it's hard money, and then just have enough money inside the system to be able to operate. But I'm starting to move outside of the system as much as possible because I truly believe in decentralization. And it's not this decentralization out of the system. It's his understanding that the system is just one piece of the ingredient. And even though it's kind of a monopoly, I realized early on that I need to make money in order to be outside of that system. So Bitcoin was one of those solutions. It worked out well, and here we are today.
But what confuses me about this story is I think we're pretty close in age. When I was 16, that's not what I was thinking. So how were you thinking outside of the system at such a young age?
I think you can't judge how a seed grows in two different gardens. I think it was just a different situation for a different individual in a different time. I think it's not so much that I'm a special individual. It's just that I took advantage of the information and the knowledge that I had at the time. Look how many people knew about Bitcoin before I did. Look how many people didn't buy it. Look how many people saw that e-commerce and making money online was going to be a thing, and they didn't capitalize on the opportunity. The difference between me and somebody else was that I just took action, and I did something with the information that I had. And that's the difference between a winner and a loser. And the reason I'm a winner is not because I have a better brain capacity because my brain processing power is so much better. No, I'm actually dedicated to what? To winning. And when I realized that I couldn't make excuses, I was fully reliable for the information that I absorbed. And what I did with that information, I decided to act, because action equals reaction. We know this to be true. If there is a cause, there's an effect. So if I'm poor, something is causing that poorness. I need to be able to address it. I was able to address it at an early age, and that was financial illiteracy, inadequacy to be in the marketplace and offer value. And that was what I needed to solve. Become financially literate and provide value. When you provide value, you make money. When you become financially literate, you know how to move your money and keep your money. So many people out here talk about how to make money. Bro, when you start playing the game, you're going to understand it's even harder to keep the money.
Yeah.
And that's a completely different game. But well, that's a conversation for a different time.
It is a conversation for a different time, but it's funny that you mentioned that, because it's such an important point, because we're here in Miami where everyone's making money, but nobody's saving money. And you know things, and you hear things about, different people and things that they're doing, and nobody's learning how to save their money. Everybody gets rich really quick.
I think it's reverse narratives. I think you need to play reverse narratives. If people did what most people don't do, they're most likely going to have different results, aka be successful. So if you see that people are spending money, then you need to ask, what are they spending money on? So the problem isn't spending. The problem is, what are you spending it on? And does it have a return? Not just does it have a return, does it have a return towards my predetermined goals? You have to allocate this fuel and this energy. That all money is energy that you input towards different things. That's why I have no emotional attachment towards my net worth. Why? Because it's just stored up energy that I'm going to deploy to empower people, to empower communities, to fulfill my dreams, to take care of my family. It's just energy fuel. It's just a tank. You don't look at a tank full of gas and somebody that has a little bit of gas and it's like, psh, like you're a peasant, you're a piece of shit because your tank's not full. No, how can I help you? And this way, that you operate in a different dynamic. So instead of shitting on people, hey, you don't have money in your reports, understanding, hey, money doesn't really mean anything. It's just one factor, one spectrum of this entire equation. It's a very interesting conversation. I think the premise of our talk with liberty is also going to be important to the financial independence of an individual. But I genuinely believe it starts in the brain and it starts in the mind, because you have to become educated. And nobody's going to do it for you. And people that think that they go to the school system and find true education, you don't. You find indoctrination. And people have assumed this idea that the information they've received is education, and it's truly not. So your job is to go find truth. I often talk about the scientific method as the approach to finding truth. The scientific method is tested and proven, observation, testing, hypothesis, and you go through an entire cycle till you arrive to a conclusion. In the same way, you can have a scientific method towards your approach in life. You can have a scientific method where you observe something and ask yourself, is this true or is it false? But people are like, well, science. Well, what is science? Define science. What is science? Science, if you break it down to its most basic common denominator, basic English, 15th century, it basically means to split, right? To split. And at its essence, it's splitting what? Truth from falsehood. Science is the process of finding truth. So when you have this, hey, do you believe in the science? You can't believe science. You know science, because science is the understanding of truth between falsehood and truth. Leonardo da Vinci famously said, study the science of art and study the art of science. Learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. So if everything connects to everything else, how I operate in my business, how I have my mindset, how I move to a different country, how I take risks, how I become successful, how I lose money, how I go through bad partnerships, how I do good partnerships, how I treat my relationships, how I interact with my employees, all of that is a cumulative representation of who I am. The money is just an aspect. So when you peel back the curtains of Luke Belmar, I'm just an individual here trying to empower others. I'm not special. I won't be remembered when it's all said and done. And I'm totally okay with that. Like, it's not a big deal.
You might be.
But if I'm not, it's totally fine. And in that process, as long as we can have a great existence and you leave better today than you were when we first interacted, I think it's a worthy ideal to live by. So that's kind of a little bit about me.
Thank you. That was a lot of information. And yeah, it was good. No, I mean, you speak about it's all about education and what you do with the information that you have in front of you. And I mentioned in the introduction that you were one of the largest PancakeSwap holders, or one of the largest holders of Cake. So how did you learn about Cake? Because I know, you said you were holding Bitcoin and you got into Bitcoin really early, but how did you discover Cake and how did you know to buy up so much? Like, talk me through that. Just before we hear what Luke has to say, if you love Bitcoin, buying it is not the only way to get some. You can actually earn Bitcoin as cashback with this sleek Heater-purifier. Heatbit Mini is powered by the same silicon chips as your iPhones and Macs. It heats your home by mining Bitcoin at 10 terahashes, being as efficient as industrial mining gear. What's more is it actually accomplishes this while maintaining energy consumption levels on par with traditional appliances at just 400 watts. Not to mention, air cleaned by HEPA filters is a life changer for anyone who lives in a big city, has pets, allergies, or likes cooking. Mini is quieter than a fridge, it looks great, and it's made from aviation grade aluminium. And I personally love the black and silver one. And it's the only plug and play device available for people looking to join and support the Bitcoin network, but lack the technical knowledge or the funds to do so. You're going to heat your house anyway this winter, so why not do it with Heatbit? And maybe get one for your girlfriend or your parents so they can finally give Bitcoin a try. Heatbit is the way Bitcoin mining was supposed to be from the very start, as said by Satoshi Nakamoto himself in a forum post back in 2010. If you're interested in grabbing a Heatbit Mini, I'm leaving all the relevant links for you in the description below. Now, let's get back to Luke.
Yeah, so 2015, 2016 was when I started playing with Bitcoin. 2017 took part of the bull run. 2019 was the DeFi bull run. I was in all of that. I was part of the Uniswap, airdrop. I was part of the entire thing. But that was part of what? The ETH chain. So as CZ starts creeping up the ladder in the Bitcoin or the crypto ecosystem, and he launches Binance, I started buying BNB token at $2 in 2017.
Wow.
So I'm a massive holder of that token because I was like, I can't just bet on a project. I need to bet on people. So I was like, I'm going to bet on this cat because he's just an absolute savage. On Clubhouse, the application that's no longer relevant because they censor everybody, he hopped on there and he started talking about the Binance Smart Chain and how they was going to grow and compete with Ethereum, and it was going to be a great thing. Now, in order to compete, you need volume, you need traffic. He's going to drive that volume, going to drive that traffic. You need a competitor product to what? Uniswap. What is it? PancakeSwap. It was a direct fork. And who was talking, hey, consider PancakeSwap, consider the fact that they have a team overseas. I don't know much about them, but here's a look. I was like, those are some data sets. That's some clues. He's probably going to pump this bag. Before it was ever listed on Binance, I was already buying tens of thousands of units of Cake, staking them. When I was staking them on PancakeSwap, like the finance website, I think the APY was like 14,000%. That's when it started. It was like ridiculous. So I became the top 10 holder of PancakeSwap in the entire world, and I rode that from like $25 million market cap to 2.6 billion. I like sold on my way up, so I didn't like cash out the top, but it was a good bag.
So how did you know to sell on your way up? Because that's one of the hardest things in crypto. People just can't hit sell. Like, I can't even hit sell. Like, there are so many things I should have sold earlier this year that I just didn't.
Yeah.
So how did you know to sell? Like, how do you get the bravery and the courage to sell?
It's the plan. I went in with a plan.
Yeah.
Like, I actually executed my bull run plan to the T. I did in this bull run what I wanted to do, which was get rich and get out.
Yeah.
That was my plan. And that's what I'm telling everybody is like, a lot of you guys saw this bull run. Next bull run's coming. You have the ability to get rich and get out, but you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Everything that you said, hey, I'm going to do during the bear market to make sure I'm ready for the bull run, you're not doing it. I actually did it. And that's the big difference. What did I spot? I spotted the fact that DeFi was a trend. I spotted the fact that you could literally, the ICOs of 2017 were so difficult to get involved with because you had to send money to a MetaMask. You were expecting coins in return. When smart contracts rolled out, I knew it was going to print. And I decided to be part of the ecosystem. You position yourself early. One, you understand that when the Fed prints, the money has to go everywhere. So it has to allocate itself in different crevices. It's literally liquidity. You throw water into a place that has rocks, the water will fill those gaps. So it filled it in crypto. It filled it in the ETF markets. It filled it in stock markets. It filled it in Forex. It filled it in real estate. The money went everywhere. You just had to pick whatever vehicle you wanted to get in. And I just happened to pick one of the vehicles that had the craziest multiples. But there was plenty of things that went absolutely bananas. If somebody pulls up the chart of tomatoes, they went through the fucking roof or eggs. They went through the fucking roof. You could have invested in eggs. Egg sellers got fucking rich.
Yeah.
But you just had to find your vehicle. The people that got rich were the ones that positioned themselves. And to answer your question, when did I get out? When one of the founders of FaZe Clan called me and said, hey, should I buy SafeMoon? And then I was like, bro, this shit's like, these guys don't know anything about crypto. Like, I know that they don't know anything about crypto. And I know that once they buy, they're going to get excited and push it to their community. Who else is left to buy after Justin Bieber? You know what I mean? When Justin Bieber buys $1 million ape, who else is going to buy it?
Yeah, you've reached the top of the market.
You've reached the end of the line. So at some point, you just have to say, is this enough for me to live? Am I good? Am I willing to leave the casino?
Oh my God. There's one thing you said on a podcast. I don't know which podcast, but it's something that me and my brother we were both like, that is so good. We need to remember that. You said small wins. That's what you said. And that's something which I really try and digest and incorporate into my trading. You know, you don't need to go for the life-changing money. Just take as many wins as you can, and then they accumulate into big wins.
Yes.
It's
the compounding principle.
Exactly.
It's the idea that you understand that the Great Wall of China was not built by deploying the Great Wall of China from the sky. It was built from the ground, brick by brick, over a long period of time, that when you zoom back, you see the artwork, you see the big fund, you see the big amount of money, you see the big net worth, but people don't see the fact that most billionaires have white hair. What does that mean? It takes a lifetime to get rich. This idea of getting rich young, it ain't a thing. I am an anomaly. I am not your status normal. I understand that. I accept that. But I also understand that there's a process to get rich. And I understand that process. And I can help people through that process. Now, I'm not the only individual. Now, I don't have all the answers, but I know how to build an 8-figure portfolio. I know how to build in crypto. I know how to build in e-commerce. I know how to scale and build digital businesses. And I think that most people, what they need to focus on right now isn't, oh, how do I make a big win? Notice, how do I keep my habits in check? How do I do what I'm supposed to do every day? People are focused on the output. You truly can't determine whether the market's going to go up or down. You can't make that decision. What you can make is the best financial decision, understanding long-term games, right? People are out here, oh, well, I'm going to make 1% today, 3%. Bro, when you're looking at the charts and you're focused all day, seeing that ticker go up and down, you could be doing other things. You could be actually making real money, producing cash flow. Excuse me, but the stock market, unless you have some crazy dividend ecosystem, you're not going to get cash flow. The risk reward ratio is just not there right now. So you need to be able to produce money. I think it's not just about the small wins, but it's about the small wins consistently.
Yes.
And most people, they have small wins, but then they have a big loss. They don't know when to cut their fucking loss. So all these small wins, they're gone. So you need to not only eat and bite those little small things, but you need to make sure that you don't get eaten up.
That really hits home. That hits home.
It happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. It's okay.
Yeah,
it's the process.
It's funny because before you came in, actually, me and my brother, we just had a win, a medium win. It wasn't a small win. It wasn't a life-changing win. It was a medium win.
Good.
Now we got to decide whether we want to do the win again or whether we want to leave the casino, you know? Yeah, so that's what happened literally before you walked in. So that's very relevant. That's funny. May I ask, how much did you sell out for with Cake?
I made a little bit over 5.
Okay.
Yeah. It was pretty good. But that was just PancakeSwap. It was pretty good.
I want to move on a little bit and understand drop shipping, because that was obviously one of your most successful businesses. You made millions of dollars in e-commerce. So my first question is, how did you know that drop shipping was going to take off?
So drop shipping is just a model. It's always existed. It's the model of arbitrage. It existed from the time you had Marco Polo traveling to China all the way to, Europe transacting with Japan when Japan's borders were closed. You had this concept of arbitrage. Drop shipping is just digital arbitrage, where you're taking a product that you don't truly own, a warehouse, a manufacturer owns it, you market it for a markup, and then you sell it to a customer. That markup is basically what you get to keep. Now, drop shipping, the model of drop shipping has existed not only in selling digital products, but it exists in houses, it exists in cars, it exists in basically every sort of asset or product in the world. So understanding that drop shipping is just a model, it's always existed and it will always exist. It's understanding where the attention is, because where attention goes, money flows. So where's the attention in 2016, 2017, 2018 on Facebook? 100%. That's where we all spent our days. We were all here playing fucking Farmville. Like, let's be real. So who's running your ads? Luke. Very simple.
Yeah.
So where the attention is right now, TikTok. Where is Luke? On TikTok. So where the attention goes, money flows. Position yourself not only to be the best in the industry, to offer products of value and service, but understand where the attention, where the audience, where the liquidity, where the money is, and then you can position yourself there. And I think you can collect some coins.
A lot of people say that dropshipping is dead, but you think that it's not necessarily dead. There's just a new iteration of it.
Yeah.
So what does that look like?
I mean, I just got back from Hong Kong, and I just met with the top dropshippers in all of Hong Kong, and they do about $100 million a year in dropshipping. So when I have guys that are showing me $100 million worth of annual sales, and then I have a cat here in Miami that's doing $20,000 a month telling me that dropshipping is dead, there's clearly a discrepancy of knowledge. So usually when I look at the information, somebody has a comment or somebody mentions an idea or they burst something out, I look at them and I say, what experience does this person have to validate their claim? Is this person a good source of authority to mention, is dropshipping alive or dead?
Yeah.
The answer is most likely not. Because if you look at Amazon, if you look at a lot of these companies, a lot of it is based on dropshipping models, and it'll continue to exist. So once I realized that dropshipping was going to exist, that there was a big demand on the internet for products, and that the attention was on social media, I capitalized on it.
It's so interesting because it's so new, and I often try and explain this to like my parents or something like that, and it's just something which I think, because you talk about who has the authority to talk about this, and it's just something that I think only like the younger generation can really tap into. I don't know, perhaps you have a different opinion.
Break that down a little bit more for me.
So I feel like it's very difficult to explain this to the older generation. You although it's just arbitrage and it's something which has existed for a very long time, it just seems to be something which is a much like a millennial Gen Z skill to have, or
Absolutely.
something to tap into.
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a business model that is more trendy now than it used to be, obviously, because arbitraging via QVC
Right.
in between ads of your favorite sitcom, that was dropshipping. That was dropshipping. Those somebody calling, selling you buy one, get one, free shipping, that's dropshipping. Except now the barrier to entry, right, has been reduced. So people look at dropshipping is dead. No, dropshipping is so alive that there's so many people trying to compete for that space. So in order for you to compete, instead of being a little bitch, get really good. The ones in the market that win are the best. Winners win and losers lose. So if you're not making money in dropshipping, bro, newsflash, people are still buying.
Yeah.
People, whether they're buying or not, is irrelevant. I just got back from a meeting with a mentor. It's very interesting because as you build relationships with mentors and you continue to grow, you begin to have a different relationship with your mentor. It's more kind of like a peer type relationship. So this mentor of mine, he's probably done about $20 billion in sales in his lifetime. He's an older guy. He's about 70 years old. I sat down with him and he's talking about how he's putting together something for, executives, and that the executives don't want to come and attend his training, that he wants to train CEOs, and that, so many people signed up, but nobody showed up. He's like, oh, they're all ungrateful. And I said, no, my friend, they're not all ungrateful. They're just somewhere else. Their attention is somewhere else right now. You just lost the game of attention. They're most likely scrolling or doing something. They're not doing something. They're just not doing what you have them doing because, well, you just didn't market right. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. Sort of reminds me of when people complain online that like the algorithms change because they're not getting as much engagement. It's like, no, your content is just not good anymore.
And it's the thing is, it's not about just content. One thing is content, another thing is to market.
Yes.
Just because you have content doesn't mean you know how to market. In the entire game of being online is there's a factor to it that is showmanship. What is my showmanship? The fact that I'm not going to post constantly. The fact that I do whatever the fuck I want online. I have my own reasons. I'm not going to be a bitch to the algo. I'm not going to on a thumbnail and do that dumb shit. Totally. So that is my strategy to be successful on social media, is authenticity. Because now more than ever, people are sick and tired of the bullshit. People don't like the I want to get rich overnight. People don't buy that anymore. People want to know, how can I make a consistent living? How can I be good? How can I wake up with peace of mind? How can I find a good spouse? How can I have a six-pack? And how can I slowly scale? How can I grow? I don't want a Hail Mary. People, and I get that. You need to find an ecosystem. You need to find that information. And I think like the information that's on YouTube, it's a lot of the young cats that don't really have a lot of life experience. So I try to limit the amount of exposure that I have of myself on there, because then it kind of mixes me up with the rest.
That's interesting. Where would you rather be if not YouTube?
In real life with billionaires on an island.
Fair enough. Okay, well, let's get into that. Okay, so a lot of your content, you talk about escaping the matrix and freeing your mind. So I'm really curious, what is the matrix to you, and how is it that they keep our minds trapped?
So today I wrote an email titled "Enjoy the Weekend," but week spelled like week, not week like weekend.
That's
week
smart.
like W-A-K, and it's, you will either use this weekend to get ahead, or you will use this weekend to become weaker. And in that email, I wrote something that's really interesting. I said, the matrix, most people observe the matrix as an exterior factor. They don't look at the interior factor of the matrix, which is the sub-programming and the mental frameworks and belief systems and the conditioning that's already been applied. A lot of the losing in life doesn't come from the exterior system. It comes from the self-sabotage. It comes from the poor decisions that are nurtured from the time we're born. From ages 0 to 7, your brain is in theta state. What is theta state? Theta state is the time, basically dream state. When you go to bed, you're in theta state. That is reprogramming mode, subconscious reprogramming at its deepest form. Where are you from 0 to 7? Nickelodeon, preschool, elementary.
Yeah.
So your entire framework and your entire mindset of the matrix, it's not just, oh, here's the central bank trying to take my money. No. This goes back from the moment you're born. 8 hours after being born, you get jabbed. That's when it starts. So if you want to get into the matrix, it's the fact that your entire life is been programmed. And the moment you wake up, you have X amount of years retroactively of deprogramming that need to take place. I like mushrooms. So if you want to do a heavy deprogramming, have you ever done mushrooms?
No.
Okay, you should do mushrooms. You would actually really enjoy them, because
mushrooms like
psychedelics.
Shrooms, like actual shrooms.
Yeah, psychedelic mushrooms with psilocybin.
Yeah.
So I have a thesis for psilocybin mushrooms, and I'm just going to put this out there because obviously a thesis can be tested, but not necessarily claimed as a fact. But Japanese scientist Paul Stamets, who's the leading expert on mushrooms, observed that there's an experiment that Japanese scientists did. And what they did is there was a labyrinth that represented the Tokyo subway system. And they planted mycelium, aka the mushroom, and they placed food on the other side of this virtual toy version of the subway system. And the mycelium, aka the mushroom, through time found a more optimized way of finding the end point, aka the food, than the engineers had crafted the Tokyo underground metro system. So the entire Japanese current metro system is based on the mycelium network's movement.
Wow.
Because it is intelligent. So when you consume the mushroom, you're actually tapping into data sets in truth that come from the earth. It's a crazy concept, but it's literally just information.
Truth about yourself, because it can be
Just
very
information.
retrospective.
It's just information. It's just putting yourself...
Sorry, introspective.
It's putting yourself in a state of mind, not in a consistent altering state of mind, but altering your state of mind so that you can perceive reality in a different way. Right now, you're only perceiving reality through your eyes. But what if reality isn't just what you see? What if reality is beyond your senses? And what if you have to tap into it in a different way?
I hear a lot about mushrooms and like microdosing mushrooms, microdosing hallucinogenics.
Mushrooms have only been illegal for 50 years. We've been using mushrooms and getting fucked up for the last 200,000 years. It's part of spirituality. It's part of human nature. It's part of exploration. It's part of getting... I'm not saying go out and do crack. I'm not saying that. Crack isn't like... Crack is not a mushroom, right? It's a completely different thing. Yeah. But I was just mentioning, I think it's one of the reasons for deplugging from the matrix. Absolutely. 100%. It's a hack.
But like how much mushrooms? You mean like microdosing?
Test your journey. Enjoy life. Don't take it so seriously. Maybe smoke a joint. Don't tweet about it. I'm messing with you.
I don't like weed. I've smoked it. I don't like it.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. I'm just pulling your leg.
Do you smoke weed?
Oh, and on occasion, very rare, I understand the negative effects of it, but I limit it. Not a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
There's no nuance allowed for Twitter.
No
anyway.
nuance, but I will say to unplug from the matrix, to respond to your original question, I think people need to understand the programming that's tied into their subconscious mind, and they need to tackle that, because every text, whether religious, whether it was Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, it doesn't matter. They all have agreed on one simple truth. As a man thinketh, so is he.
Yeah.
Every text, every wise man, every sage has agreed on that fact, that how you perceive reality will dictate your reality. So if you can change the way that you perceive reality by deprogramming the bullshit that's been given to you from the moment you were born, aka that's the matrix. You don't look at the exterior, that which you can't control. That which you can't control will produce anxiety, state of fear. You can't operate out of a state of fear. A lot of these truth guys out there, they're just fear. Fear. You can't, that's a low state of vibration. You want to live in a state of vibration of authenticity and truth and power. And where does that come from? Knowledge. It comes from being certain and knowing that you can control what you can control. And what you can't control, the exterior, so be it.
Can you define what data sets are? And also, what are glitches in the matrix? And can somebody be a glitch in the matrix? How does that work? Because I know you talk about that a lot.
In the movie Wreck-It Ralph, the main character is this little girl, and she's a glitch in the game. She's not supposed to be there. She's an anomaly. The people in the game, they don't like her. But she understands that if she uses her glitch, she can actually take advantage of the game. This concept of being a glitch in the system is this idea of there's a program. There is a 1, 2, 3, 4 of how people should conduct themselves. A glitch operates outside the norms of the status quo. They forge their own path. They make their own decisions. And then the programming that they've been given, they glitch out of it. And new programming. And what's the new programming? The data sets. What is the data set? The new software that gets downloaded from the ether, the mushrooms, or whatever, into what? The hardware. So it's not just about the software, it's about the hardware, and being able to understand that the software needs to be compatible with the software, hardware-software compatibility, mind-body. Every sage has talked about this. Aristotle talks about this. Plato talks about this. Miyamoto Musashi talks about this. Sun Tzu talks about this, the control of mind-body. So if you have the data sets of getting healthy, but you don't do anything with it, then did you truly unlock the data set, or were you just aware of a truth? You didn't really capture the truth. So data set is the download of the software into the software, so that from the download of the software into the hardware, so that it changes the hardware to the core, so that the processing system of the machine is no longer the same, but it is upgraded. That is what it means to become a glitch. That is what it means to unlock data sets and become an anomaly.
So can you give me some examples of data sets? Like, how do people seek out data sets to help them level up financially, or just in health-wise, in many different ways?
When was the first time you heard about Bitcoin?
It was in I was 16.
Okay.
So 20, I don't know, what year was I in? Year 13? I don't know.
Ballpark it.
Oh, 2013 or 2014?
Okay, so let's say 2014 you heard about Bitcoin. You didn't buy it.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
You were given a data set. You didn't do anything with it.
Because I didn't trust the source, though. I remember
exactly because
me.
You didn't trust yourself.
No, I didn't trust the source.
You're the source.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
The scientific method. You need to put the data sets through a process to test whether they're true or not.
Right. And I didn't test it.
You didn't test it. You didn't test it. You just discarded it.
Yeah, I did.
It was a piece of information that's just neutral, but you had no mental framework to take it through. Therefore, you couldn't process that information because you didn't have the data set to process, because your hardware was not compatible yet. So you received the information, you just weren't ready. But you can be ready by upgrading your hardware, which requires consistent, persistent, dedicated energy input so that you can upgrade. So that's kind of like, you need to consume books. You need a network. You need to get involved with people. You need to develop hard skills. You need to learn how to sell. You need to learn how to interact with individuals. You need to learn how to balance a checkbook. You need to learn how to manage cash flow. You need to learn all these things. So it's a cumulative of life that allows you to capitalize on the data sets. So it's not just the information. It's the fact that you need to be compatible with that information in order to capitalize on it. And that is the mind-body connection for data sets.
So if you're not compatible with it, this is a ridiculous question thinking about it in my head before I say it out loud, but in some ways it's almost like it's not your fault if you're not ready to take in that information. But then again, it is your fault because you should continuously try to
There's
level
a duality.
up and
There's a duality. So the duality comes from ignorance is bliss. So you don't know that which you don't know. So I can't expect you to know that which you don't know. So I'm not going to judge you. Like people that don't have money and don't know about money, I can't judge you. Like I completely understand, brother. I didn't know shit. I'm just getting into the game myself.
Okay.
Like I got a couple $1 million under my belt. There's people that have billions. They know something that I don't. So under this concept that in some way, shape, or form, it is your fault because you are responsible for your life, even though I can't blame you, simultaneously, I can't blame you, but you have to blame yourself. So even though I can't judge you, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and self-judge and be like, why am I in this condition? And evaluate yourself through the scientific method and look at your action, look at cause and effect. Effect is I'm broke. Effect is I'm fat. Effect is nobody likes me. Effect is I'm not where my life wants to be. What is causing that state? And if you address the cause, and it's usually... That's exactly, I think I commented on one of your tweets. You said, I think you mentioned, these are the worst things in life. Like, I think like sin or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And you had mentioned like being transgender and
vaccinated feminism.
Whatever the list is of what somebody in their personal worldview considers not compatible to status quo or what they find to be normal. But is that the cause? Or is that the effect of the cause? Is there a universal cause that is causing humanity to be sick? And I believe yes. And it is a state of what? Unenlightenment. It's a state of not being able to separate truth from falsehood. That's all it is. The people that take certain actions in life that don't seem logical is because they're not living in truth. But I'm not going to judge them because they're not living in truth. Like, oh, a blind person expecting them to know where to go. I'm going to lead them with grace, with kindness, and understanding that maybe they don't know any better. And Jesus said it best. When they were about to stone the woman who had committed adultery, he wrote in the sand, he said, "He who is without sin, cast the first stone." And they all walked away because they were all guilty. So when you understand that you are like everybody else, that you are not above anybody, and that people really just need to be helped, then you understand that the symptom isn't all the things that are happening in society. That's just the effect. What is causing it? And that's kind of what I am focusing on addressing. And I think it comes with resetting the software, resetting the hardware, and just becoming a new person.
In terms of resetting software, it kind of leads me on to my next question, which is something that you said, which I thought was fascinating. Brokeism is a condition of the mind and not the pocket. So can you break this down for me and explain what can people do to retrain their brain so that, you know, they break out of that hardware and are able to sort of, you know, level up essentially and get out of that broke mindset?
The key to manifestation can be synthesized and boiled down to potentially one sentence by who I believe to be probably the greatest to ever walk the earth, which was Jesus. And he said, when you pray, believe that it has been given to you and it will be given to you. Not pray hoping that things will happen and then it'll happen. It's believe that it has already happened and it will happen. What does this mean? This means that how you position yourself, how you have a scarcity mindset about your future will dictate your future. If you live out of fear, you will have a future that yields that. Energy input equals energy output. But what if I'm always thinking, I'm a healthy person? I'm going to become healthy. I will. It's impossible not to. It is a natural law, cause and effect. It's like the law of gravity. If I go up to the top of this roof and I jump, I will not go up. I will go down. And it's the same with every other law. Same as the law of cause and effect. So when you have this kind of idea in this wrestling, and a lot of people have it, and I've had it myself, I think people should understand that their scarcity mindset or this idea of, you know, I don't have opportunity. I don't have network. I don't have money. I don't have. Well, if you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. So you better go for it. And it's that in that mindset of I have nothing to lose. I am wealthy. I have time, energy, and attention. And I already have that which I want to have. I just have to believe it to be true. And eventually time will catch up. That is how you evolve your mindset from scarcity to wealth. Because broke is not a condition of the pocket. It's truly a condition of the mind. Because if you think you're rich and you work towards that ideal, who can stop you?
Do you think that's true for all aspects of life?
Yes. Because everything is in everything else. Everything represents itself in everything else. How you do one thing is how you do everything. How you treat your brother is how you treat your business partners. How you treat brother is how you would treat your husband one day. It is just because that's you. It's how it's going to be. So the question is, how do you treat those people? Because what that is a reflection in the mirror of who you are as a person, which is beautiful because it can happen to anybody. But it's in the self-reflection that people can kind of improve. But it's also in the self-reflection where people can get offended. Truth hurts. And many times I look in the mirror and I don't like things. So I decide to change them. And the difference between the people that win in life and the ones that lose, they look at the mirror, they walk away and don't change and say everything's perfect. And then the ones that look in the mirror and they're like, there's a smudge. Let me clean that. And they get polished.
To what extent is doubt detrimental in manifesting?
Well, what is doubt?
Well, you said that.
What is doubt?
Doubting that you won't necessarily like.
What is doubt?
Not believing that you're going to achieve what you want to achieve.
So it's to have this insecurity of the outcome. Mm-hmm. When you know something to be true, do you fear whether it's going to happen or not?
But how do you know it to be true?
Because I wield reality. I control reality because I control how I perceive reality. And I understand that if I do X amount of things consistently over X amount of period of time, I can accomplish anything.
So absolutely, you believe that absolutely everything is in your control?
Everything. Why wouldn't it be?
Because some things happen which are out of your control in life.
Yeah, because you didn't level up to the place to put it under your control.
I don't know. Don't you think that, like, I don't know, let's say...
Give me a scenario.
Okay, it's going to be morbid.
Please.
Because we have to.
Of course.
It's the only way I can...
Not a big deal.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Say a few years from now you have children. Something could happen to your child.
Absolutely.
And obviously, if you were fully in control of life, your child would grow up healthy and happy. But there's a chance that may not happen.
Yeah, but that's because...
And that's not in your control.
But that's because you're looking at the life of the child as the end of the cause and effect. What if it's just a ripple in the wave of time and you're looking at the end of the picture and not one of the ripples? So what if what you're looking at isn't the things that are happening, but at the end of your life, when you evaluate everything, you look back and you said, I lived the life that I wanted based on my terms. Not everything went perfect. Not I controlled everything. But when I'm on my deathbed, I look back and I said, I beat this game. That's it. That's control. You can't, there's variables to it. Yeah, you can't control when you're going to die, how long you're going to live. There's variables to that. But when it's all said and done, can you control looking at yourself in the mirror and be like, I did what I was supposed to do? 100%.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I'm with you. I want to talk about the ways that the system keeps us enslaved. So, we've spoken about upgrading our system, but there are obviously ways that we're kept enslaved, and propaganda is one of them. Netflix, music, social media. I think Netflix is probably one of the worst in my opinion. And there's the father of propaganda, Edward Bernays. So can you explain how he worked with the government to push out all of this propaganda and keep us enslaved in the matrix?
It's interesting because Edward Bernays is actually related to Sigmund Freud.
No,
and
I didn't know that.
Sigmund Freud is actually known as the father of psychology. So when you begin to look at this idea of propaganda, well, what is propaganda? Propaganda is mass persuasion. It's persuasion at a mass scale. So when you see narratives being constructed at a mass scale, that is propaganda. So Edward Bernays is known as the father of propaganda, and he's actually related to Sigmund Freud, who is the godfather of modern day psychology and this idea of like atheistic psychology, which kind of makes sense as to what worldviews are being pushed currently. They're also related to the owner of Netflix. So all this kind of connection is really interesting. But what is propaganda? Propaganda is just messaging. It's just narratives. When you see a narrative play over a big group of people, there is a controlling factor to that. So when there's a narrative that is propagated to elevate something above everything else, when you prop a narrative, now everybody can see it and you limelight and focus on it. Where attention goes,
money flows.
Where was the attention the last couple of years?
Social media, TikTok. Oh, yeah. Oh, the magic stuff. Yeah.
Trillions.
The magic medicine. Yeah.
Trillions. So where attention goes, energy flows. And if you can prop up your propaganda, your message, then you can direct attention. It's all about money.
Then you can monetize it.
It's all about money.
Explain the Netflix connection, because that's really interesting, because I personally find Netflix really difficult to watch these days because it's so woke. And anything which is like slightly good, there's a little bit of woke sprinkled in there and you just have to sort of, move past it. Everything is so woke. I find Netflix to be one of the biggest propaganda machines out there. So can you explain that connection between Edward and...
So one of the co-founders of Netflix is related to Edward Bernays. And it's just interesting that your modern day entertainment is basically your relationship with former day propaganda. It's just interesting. But I agree with you. I think I don't like consuming anything unless I know the source of the intent. The source of the intent needs to be the desirability of the information. Why you consume something needs to be scrutinized. So why do I read Aristotle's? Why do I dive into the work of Leonardo da Vinci? Why do I stay away from Travis Scott music and garbage? Why? No offense to any artist. They can do whatever they want, but what they're feeding isn't filling me. So I need to find what fills me. And somebody that's in a low vibrational frequency, those low vibrational frequency things, they fill them up. But it's just no longer what feeds me. And you have to go from nurturing yourself with garbage and processed bullshit of the system to finding, hey, like, why am I listening to this music? What is this causing in me?
Yeah.
I'm watching these shows. Okay. It's making me perceive women in a different way. Is this what I want? And you need to be able to have what? Intentionality towards who possesses your mind. Because if you're not in control of your mind, somebody will control your mind for you. And social media companies, video game companies, movie companies, music companies, they hire psychologists just like Edward Bernays, even better than Edward Bernays, to fuck with your head, to keep you controlled. Why do you think it's just normal that at 11:15 in the afternoon you always check your phone and it buzzes and you feel angst inside that, hey, like, what's going on? And you like, refreshing your phone like a lottery slot? That's all programming. That is all intentional. Dopamine hit.
It's disgusting.
Oh, refresh. What's new on the feed? What's new on the feed? Hooked. Psychology 101. If you do not control your mind, somebody else will control it for you.
Yeah, it's really interesting. When I was about 10 years ago, I worked on a summer camp in America, and I was hosting like this little radio class for some young kids. And it was, I've always kind of been aware of these things, but it was actually at that moment that I realized how dirty the music is. Because you had these like really young girls doing karaoke to like a Meghan Trainor song, which is something like, I don't know, can't remember the line, but it was, if you treat me right, maybe you can get head. And I'm like, a little child just said that, And it was at that moment that I realized, like the music is terrible. I mean, Sam Smith is just promoting the devil, which to me is fascinating.
I mean, it's you promote that which you love. And at the end of the day, people just push what they love. And what you're seeing is just louder voices. And your attention is, if nobody gave attention to the fat fuck wearing a tight pink suit, wearing devil horns, if nobody gave a flying fuck about him, nobody would talk about him. But everybody's focused on somebody else's shit and watching some dude perform with a yellow or red cane looking like the devil instead of focusing on their own bag, how to level themselves up, how to get their parents out of poverty. Dude, if you're focused on your own shit, like when people start talking about these, I don't give a fuck, dude. Like I have to take care of my parents. I have to make sure my community's good. I have to make sure I have safe havens all around the world. After that's all done, then we can talk about what's happening in culture.
Right. No, and it's a great point. It's a great point. It's even down to like taking hate online. Like my brother will say to me, he'll be like, we don't have time to worry about what people say about you. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. We've got to save mum and dad. We've got to, we don't have time to worry about all of that. But you mentioned, where the attention flows, the money goes. And one of the places was, the magic medicine. Yes. So that kind of leads me on to the next thing that I wanted to speak with you about. I want to understand how and where the pharmaceutical industry come into this, particularly in America. And I guess if you feel that that's true throughout the rest of the world.
A synonym for patient is client.
A synonym for patient is client.
In order for you to have clients, your clients need to come in. In order for a business to operate, you need customers. In order for a hospital to be full, you need sick people. So pharma gets in bed with food, gets in bed with every other industry at the highest level. Just look at the shareholders. Go to yahoo.finance and you'll be able to see who shareholds and owns the companies to prop a message, right? To then make money. In this case, what's the message that you prop? Seed oils are good. Processed food is good. Porn's good. Terrible music is good. Not exercising is good. Taking all these experimental medications, this is good. Why? Because there's a back door to it. There's back deals happening to it. That's all money. Every single last bit of it. So it's beyond just a jab. It's beyond just one individual thing. It's every fucking aspect of all of existence, even outside of people. You can look at the veterinary industry. If you think they vaccinate people, just look at how much they vaccinate the animals that you eat.
Yeah.
You're eating jabs on jabs on jabs on antibiotics, on anabolic steroids, on all this garbage, on hormones, and people think that they're healthy, that they're developing all these things. So the system is kind of fucked up all around. You really have to just unplug from the entire thing, all of it, and evaluate every aspect of your life. The whole thing's rotten.
But it's so difficult. So I wasn't going to get to this yet, but since we're here, I'll just
because it's not even pharma. That's why I'm saying it's not even one thing. It's the entire thing is just fucked. The entire thing. You have to be outside of it and understand how everything's working so that you're not susceptible to the garbage.
To what extent do you think you're outside of it?
It's a great question. I'll let you know when I find out.
The reason I ask is because it's very difficult, especially in America, because the food here is worse. And I hands down say that because the minute I got here, every time I go out for dinner, I put on weight every time I go out for dinner.
Then don't go out to dinner.
I know, it's okay. I deal with it. But I'm just saying, but you can go out for dinner in England.
For sure.
And you don't blow up as much just because of how the food is processed.
Different matrices.
Right, different matrices.
Have different games.
No, damn. That's very true.
So you have to operate differently in different places.
Wow, that's very powerful, Luke.
Let me give you an example. When I go to Hong Kong, they love pork, they love seed oils. So most places I can't eat. So guess what? I'll just fast. So I have to adapt my hardware to the environment. Does a computer operate well underwater or in rain? No, it's most likely going to short circuit. So I need to make sure that I'm playing in every matrix, different jurisdictions, different places, by the rules of that thing to make sure I'm intact.
So my question is, how do you deal with it in America? Because my brother and I, we're really trying to eat healthy, right? So we went on this crazy diet to try and source the best meat that isn't vaccinated. And, we went to like the farmer's market. We tried to buy from Amish farms. And it's just very difficult when you're like building a business and, you're trying to work, you're trying to do a million things. And then you've got to stop your day because you're starving and go an hour to a farmer's market, get raw milk. It's very impractical.
It looks like you don't have a good team.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, yeah.
No, yes, it does. Because your job, there's income making skills and then there's like living things that need to be handled. Like I need to fix a tire. But the amount of time and energy that you expend cooking, going to the farmer's market, getting in your car, gas in your car, that's all peasant tasks. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
Your goal is to be beyond that so that you have somebody sourcing your quality food. Do you think I read my agreements? Yeah. After my entire legal team goes through it. Do you think I source my food? Yeah, I'll go source my food and then I'll have somebody go and pick it on a consistent basis and go and buy things. I'm not going to fix my car. I'm not going to go and re-register my license plate. I'll have people do all those things for me. So yes, it's an inconvenience. How are you going to solve it?
Make more money.
There you go, homie.
And So what does your diet look like? And how much do you exercise?
Minced meat every single day.
Minced meat.
Either elk or deer or bison. Japanese rice, quinoa. That's it. Vegetables. Maybe some
you
eggs.
You have vegetables?
Yeah.
You have eggs?
A little bit. I'm pretty chill on my diet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm pretty basic.
You said something earlier. You said different matrices in different places, implying that different jurisdictions play different games. I know you're extremely well traveled. I follow you obviously a lot on social media. Tell me, what do different countries play? Like England, Japan, tell me.
So you have different rules in different places. There's different monopoly boards. There's macro monopoly boards and then there's micro monopoly boards. What you need to understand is the game that you're currently in, what are the rules? And then understand that outside that game in other places, there's different rules. So your goal is to understand how the game is played in this specific area. So what is the food in Europe? What is the taxation in Europe? What is the culture in Europe? Culture, you say, Luke? Cult? Cult? What is a cult? So we have culture and then we have matrix. What is a matrix? Matrix comes from the word matriz. Matriz from the Latin comes birth, right? So the matrix is a birth system, something that's created, right? So you have a pre-created system and then you have something that's propped up, right? So you have a propped up narrative, you have a artificially created ecosystem, and between a narrative and between an ecosystem, you have people. So what you need to understand is that you are bound to both of those things because you are a person. You have a tax identification number, a social security number. You are part of the system. So anytime you enter that jurisdiction, you have to play by those rules. And people, they think that they can just hop around, that things are just willy-nilly, that they can just go open up bank accounts, that they can just go and fuck around with their credit score and their credit cards, and they can just buy Bitcoin and they just fuck around online and say whatever they want. They don't understand how the game is played. Sometimes it's important to understand that the game is played because the biggest fuck you that you can say to the system is, I've crossed all my T's and dotted all my I's. I am untouchable. Everything that I've done is perfect. When they look at your books, they can't fuck with you. When they look at everything that you've done, they can't touch you. The ultimate fuck you to the system is being so clean that they can't touch you.
You're down in Puerto Rico.
Yes.
You don't have to answer. What's the matrix there? Like, what do you have to?
What
do you have to?
So the matrix in Puerto Rico is like an interesting one, right? You have a lot of extremely successful people, but then you're also in an area that doesn't technically belong to you, right? So the U.S. came, they just took over Puerto Rico, they kind of colonized it. Now you have a ton of rich guys that are going in there and basically paying no tax. So the people there are kind of like pissed, but the locals are nice and the weather's really nice. Mm-hmm. So maybe we run up a part 2 in Puerto Rico. You can come check out the matrix out there.
Okay, for sure. All right,
I'm down.
We'll leave it there. Okay, let's move on to talk about crypto. Speaking of crypto, I know there's a lot of successful crypto people down in Puerto Rico. But you made a lot of money, obviously, from Cake. I think you made some money on Luna, or you shorted Luna, or something like that. I was on your website and I saw that you actually had Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper as the 11th recommended read on your website, which I thought was fascinating. So you're clearly extremely pro crypto, pro Bitcoin. Do you see a difference between Bitcoin and crypto? Do you see Bitcoin being better in any way?
So I'm not passionate about Bitcoin because passion entails emotion.
Okay.
I'm not emotional about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the best vehicle for money, period. That's it. That's a fact. Anybody that transacts and moves a lot of money, besides the discrepancy of price, aka price being correlated to USD, because we happen to live in a USD world, we're bound to it. If you think Bitcoin's going to disrupt US dollar in the next 30, 40, 50 years, like, you're just wrong. It's not going to be a thing. They could literally destroy Bitcoin if they truly wanted to overnight. But I think that it's a vehicle that is going to exist long term. Why? Because you can actually hold it. And that is the most valuable thing that Bitcoin has. It's not transparent. Bitcoin's ledger is not transparent. You can trace everything on Bitcoin, but you can hold your Bitcoin and you can have your Bitcoin and you can transact your own Bitcoin and you can do things with Bitcoin that you can't do with other tokens because, one, they don't hold the same value. Two, they're deemed securities. They're not really money. Bitcoin is money. Anytime money is considered money in any jurisdiction, the IMF considers that legal tender. Where is Bitcoin considered money?
El Salvador.
Exactly. So Bitcoin by law internationally is legal tender. So Bitcoin by law is the best money that we have in society. Now, this idea of central, why do I like it?
Yeah.
I like it because I have the ability to do whatever I want, wherever I want, however I want. Yeah, the purchasing power may differ, but that's simply because we're quantifying it in dollars. But this concept of centralization, this centralized economy, is a new concept. JP Morgan introduced this concept when banks were regional. So banks would operate at a state level, right? They would operate, if you fuck up your banking relationships in New Hampshire, you could go down to Florida and bank in Florida. It wouldn't be a big deal. But he introduced this concept of centralization, which is what? Conglomerating all the individual nodes so that you can manage them. Bitcoin is powerful because you can operate and transact with every node, every individual on the system. You can interact with them. You can transact with them. It's not just the fact that you can transact. It's the fact that you can transact with anyone. That's what makes Bitcoin fucking unbelievable. 1. 2, the fact that you can physically move any amounts of Bitcoin instantly.
Yeah.
Physically, one flight, I can take $100 million worth of Bitcoin anywhere in the world. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin to me is the hardest money because it is programmed to be successful. Whether it becomes successful or not, it's determined to be tested because, once again, it's just a financial instrument. So financial instruments need adoption, financial instruments need faith, and financial instruments need trust. So if you look at what money needs in order for it to be money, trust, a means of exchange, and a store of value, Bitcoin meets the definition of money. So Bitcoin is money, but I don't see it as a passion, like, oh, I'm a Bitcoin. No. I am passionate about my survival. And if that means that Bitcoin is what I need to hold, which is what it looks like it's going to be, or something along this line of being outside of the system, at least part of me, then that's what I'm going to do. Strategy.
I understand.
Bitcoin is a good part of the strategy.
But what's interesting is there's a lot of people that think Bitcoin was created by the CIA. A lot of people say that because Michael Saylor is actually so passionate about it and has, I think, over 150,000 coins, or MicroStrategy has, that, he's CIA. I think it was Dan Penner who said that he believes that Satoshi Nakamoto is Vladimir Putin, and if that was ever revealed, it would be to all of our detriment. Do you have a take on the founder of Bitcoin? Do you think there's some kind of sinister founder behind it, or do you think it's genuinely programmed to be successful, to be for the people, by the people, and so on?
I mean, no offense to Dan Pena, but if you ask the man to turn on a computer, you can't do it.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's not just because you're an expert in one thing doesn't mean you're an expert in everything. And at the end of the day, it's like USDT, right? USDT right now is super safe. Why? Because there's plenty of liquidity. So from a risk reward ratio, you don't think USDT is not going to go to zero overnight. There's literally tens of billions of dollars of cash. Same thing with USDC. You never thought USDC was going to be depegged, but you didn't know that they were at the SVB bank and they got depegged. But then it repegged when they rebalanced their books. But the whole point is you need to be operating cross dimensions, cross currencies. We're going back to, if you want to be decentralized, you got to be moving all over the board. All over the board. You can't just be stuck with USD in one bank account. You're asking to get fucked.
Yeah, you have to diversify, and you have to literally decentralize yourself.
You have to decentralize yourself. Why? Because when you decentralize yourself, you decentralize your risk. It's like very simple concept of wealth preservation, which nobody talks about because everybody's trying to make money. But once you make the money, then you realize keeping it is even harder. So it's best to at least get some sort of preparation ahead of time.
But who do you think created Bitcoin?
No idea. I don't really care, actually. Who created the US dollar?
I actually don't know the answer to that.
Exactly.
The Fed.
I mean, no.
I mean, wait.
That's
Who created
not
the US dollar. It was just an evolution of time, right? I mean, the current US dollar that we have is a result of 1971 when we came off the gold standard.
So that's exactly the point, right? It's just iterations of iterations of iterations of iterations. My goal is just to find the best vehicle of money. If I find a better vehicle of money than Bitcoin in the future, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. There is no hodl bullshit. You know why? Because everybody that's telling you to hodl, they're going to sell on your ass.
Yes, that is so true. I find that such an interesting point. I've been in this space a while, so I've seen a lot, basically. So yeah, it's very true. Yeah. And it's funny because there's a lot of false narratives that they feed you to keep you holding. So yeah, that's why it's the same narratives the banks feed you to keep your balance in their bank accounts. That's the only way the system continues running. The only system runs is because
you complain about the matrix, but you have a bank account. So you're part of the matrix. And
but you have to play the game, as you say.
But that's the thing. That's the hypocrisy. That's where it comes in, is you want to beat the game, but you only beat the game by playing the game. And you have to become a player of the game. And that's where you have to play the game without losing yourself. And that is where you win, is making sure that your morals, your values, your principles, your ethics, your reason for existence is not jeopardized when you play the game and then want to get out.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that became really apparent during the flu time.
For sure.
When travel became restricted, you know, and you had to ask yourself, like, what are my options? What do I do? And, you know, some people sold their souls so that they could travel.
For sure.
Other people found more creative solutions. And it was interesting seeing, because, you know, I have very similar opinions to a lot of different people. And it was interesting seeing how different people navigated certain things. And I wouldn't do certain things that other people did.
They sold their soul because they needed to pay the price.
Exactly.
So your goal is to have so you can pay any price.
That was done so well. That was said very well. Speaking of crypto and, you know, how the future is going to look, AI is something which is blowing up right now. Firstly, I want to get your take on AI in general. Do you like it? Do you think that it's going to be mass adopted? Do you think it's really, you know, the next big thing? And then also, what does it mean for young entrepreneurs? How do we make sure that 99% of all these jobs aren't going to become basically obsolete? Because it's looking like that's the way it's going.
People will become obsolete, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. People only become obsolete and it becomes a bad situation if people stay how people currently are. If you want to capitalize on AI in a way that is benevolent, you have to allow AI to take on the industrial work of society and focus humanity on the sciences and the arts and the Renaissance. We are in an age of darkness. We are in an age where people hate knowledge. People hate the truth, right? The Bible says at the end of times, people will call good bad and bad good. So the question is, what is the end? Is it the end of times of existence, or is it the end of this time? And is there a great reset coming?
Apparently.
There's a thinker by the name of Jordan Greenhall. He probably has like 11,000 followers. He'll probably have a ton more after I say this. And he talks about this concept known as digital tribal formations, and this concept of this macro social media economy coming down into micro communities. AI can't replace a couple of things. AI can't replace community. AI can't replace personal development, and AI can't replace your emotional state. Like, you still have to regulate your emotional state. Those three things are really human, and they can only be satisfied through human interaction. So this concept of digital tribal formations is that people are yearning for relationships. People are yearning for connections. So build AI-proof companies by understanding what AI can't and will not be able to satisfy in the future. Now, AI being able to replace humanity in certain tasks is not a bad thing. Throughout history, we've always had this double-edged sword of everything, right? The gun can be a great invention. The cannon can be a great invention, but it can also be used for destruction. An airplane can be used for good, but can also be used to drop a nuclear bomb. So we don't look at innovation under the premise of potentially somebody will use it to cause a lot of harm, but how can we use this and equip ourselves, understanding that through Moore's law, which is the fact that technology is advancing rapidly and becoming super powerful and extremely cheap at an S-curve and an exponential curve that we can't even manage. The moment you buy an iPhone, it becomes obsolete. Like, the tech is already obsolete. Like, that shit's probably a couple years old. It's like not even a thing anymore. So things are moving extremely quick. AI is moving quick. So your goals, how can I use AI? Not integrate with it. Please, God, don't integrate with AI. Like, you're just asking to get controlled like a super bot. I don't want to go into the details of the people that are pretty involved in this ecosystem, but just be super careful. However, there is also this idea of a new digital renaissance, and a renaissance where people focus on the sciences and the arts, because we are truly in a dark age of knowledge. People have convoluted truth and falsehood, and there is no absolute truth. And there must be an absolute truth, because there must be a way and a philosophy of life. So if there's a way and a philosophy of life, and there's this idea of good and bad, and there's this concept of this digital tribal formation and you want to find your little group of people, first you need to find those people that resonate with you, which is why you're a creator. You're finding those people that resonate with your message, building this kind of AI-proof ecosystem, but also using AI to do what? Empower your organization, empower you to do what? Not the tasks that you want to do. Would you, if you were living in 200 years, would you send your robot to pick up the groceries for you? 100%, right? So it's just using technology to your advantage as opposed to being scared from it. Capitalize on it, period. If AI is going to get powerful, you better have some strong AI to compete against it. That's it. You're not, what are you going to do? Complain?
Yeah.
And nobody cares.
Well, speaking of AI, Elon Musk is one of those people who's sort of leading the way, with the chips that he wants to put in people's brain, and even, free speech and all this. I'm just curious, what do you think about Twitter nowadays? People say that, there's free speech on there, but today I think Jake Shields got banned, or he had something taken down for saying something rude. How are you enjoying Twitter? What do you think about the state of free speech right now?
So first of all, freedom of speech doesn't exist, period, across the board, right? Because if you're operating within the terms and conditions that you haven't even read, like you're already saying what you agree to. And most people that are getting terminated, well, they're just breaking the terms and conditions. So when you're in the centralized system, they don't owe you anything. So you just have to play the game. And what I came to realize was when Alexander the Great took the throne, Aristotle came back from exile for one simple reason, which was what? Which was he came back from exile because he had been ostracized and removed for talking politics. So he got involved where he shouldn't have gotten involved, and it cost him his livelihood. And when he came back to deal with Alexander the Great as his mentor, guess what topic he didn't converse about in the public arena? Politics at that time. Why? Because it didn't make sense strategically. So sometimes not talking is the best strategy. Sometimes changing through action. Anybody can tweet. Few people are actually out here doing stuff. Anybody can comment on somebody's social media platform that you have no right to even own or use. It doesn't fucking matter if you have 1 million followers. Like, nobody gives a fuck. This guy just literally took that handle at X, right? That probably somebody had for like
crazy.
years. It's not crazy. He owns it. He paid $50 fucking billion for the code.
No,
he can do whatever he wants. Like, it's not crazy. If you were in that situation, you'd take all the usernames. You'd take your first name and that, and you'd verify that shit 3 times.
I take at L, at Leia,
there you
at
go.
G, at Gideon.
So I don't blame him. But under this premise, Elon Musk is developing what is called the super app. So he's coming to compete with your WeChat. He's coming to compete with your Alipay, because you need a super app in North America. And it's not going to be a super app controlled by China, but it's still, they want control. Elon was attempting to do this in the X.com days with PayPal. But when he went on vacation, you had Peter Thiel, you had the YouTube guys, the PayPal mafia, right? They came together and they built PayPal. They kicked them out. But his premise at the time was to create X, and it just didn't work. So he just went on to shoot rockets and do some crazy stuff, came back around, and now he's trying to build the super app. So if you look at X, it already has the ability to remit payments in all 50 states. So it's already a financial institution. The owners, you have crazy owners in there. It's a privately held company, so you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. You have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. Yeah. And now you have Elon that owns the satellites of the internet. He owns the chip that connects to your brain. He owns the AI, and he owns a social media platform that is powering the knowledge base of the AI. No wonder you want freedom of speech, because you want people to say everything of everything of everything, so that the AI learns everything of everything of everything of everything. So that you feed it to your Neuralink that is connected to your satellites. I don't know. I mean, if you put all of these scenarios in a comic book, it's a scenario and a recipe for disaster. Who knows? We either have a savior, or we have Lex Luthor. But when somebody wears a New World Order jacket, I'm not too.
Did he? Did he wear one?
Cue the photo.
Oh, cue the photo. I need to take a look. Have you seen that, Gid?
Yeah.
You've seen it? I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I need to take a look.
People are gonna trip on that one.
Yeah. Wow. So you're a fan? You're not a fan, or you're just neutral and observing?
I am a admirer of the conquest.
For sure. I
That's
respect
it.
that.
He's conquering. At the end of the day, individuals realize that you have to kill or be killed. And when you're playing at the game that these guys are playing, the world stage, it's pretty ruthless. So I understand, but there's also other narratives attached to it that kind of freak me out a little bit. The whole like controlling people through AI. I don't see how it's going to be relevant in the near future, but 40, 50 years from now, imagine people just get activated to the internet and now they're being told what to do and how to feel and how to think. And if people think that that's far-fetched,
yeah,
it's pretty close.
Yeah, they're pretty naive. No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right, so we're coming towards the end of the podcast, and I want to give everybody that's watching a lot of value. So for those who are, building their businesses right now, I think, what is it, like 80 to 90% of all new businesses fail, something like that?
Yes, within their first 2 years.
Right. So how can somebody increase the chances of having a more successful business?
I think that there's a few key ingredients to every organization succeeding. And I think that, first of all, you need to go into business knowing that it's going to be hard and knowing that it's going to be most likely a bust. Mm-hmm. I've done so many companies that just don't work. And you see Capital Club now doing millions of dollars, thriving. That wasn't my first rodeo show. It's just part of the game. So first, understanding that when you begin your entrepreneurship journey, you're going to take a lot of L's, and that's totally okay. You can't treat yourself as somebody that's supposed to be winning all the time when you are in learning stage. So what I see a lot of entrepreneurs do is they go into the game thinking that they're going to make millions of dollars right off the bat, become the hottest guy in the game. They don't really want to earn their stripes. They don't want to really work for it. They don't want to season themselves. And when you become inexperienced and you go into the marketplace, that's when you get punched. It's like playing at a level that you're not allowed to play in the marketplace and in business. You will only be able to be at the level that you deserve to be at. If not, you will be smoked out. The con artists always get caught out. They always get caught. So you need to be authentic where you're currently at and then focus on leveling up your skills. Now, what are the skills that if you're getting started with your business or if you want to run a successful business, you need to take in mind? There are 3 types of skills. First is income producing skills. You need to focus on how to make money. It's fine if you have a vision. It's fine if you have goals. But if you can't feed these goals, then nothing's going to happen. So you need to focus on income producing skills. Learn how to sell, learn how to persuade, and learn how to talk to people. If you can learn these 3 things, most of your coverage when it comes to selling, producing income is going to take place, period. 2 is your income management skills. You need to be able to manage the money that actually comes in. You need to learn basic accounting. You need to learn basic law, like how do I file an EIN correctly? Mm-hmm. How do I actually open up a bank account the right way? What are the banking rules and policies that I need to follow in order to be in good standing? How do I make sure the IRS understands what my business is doing and that it's completely transparent? So you need to have your cash management skills in check. You need to have your income producing skills, and you need to have your estate/wealth preservation skills, which is learning how to invest, learning how to buy real estate. These are the 3 pockets: create, multiply, preserve. So you need to learn how to create money, which is very simple: sweat, time, energy, and attention. You can't cut it. Like, you have to put in the hours, but then you have to go into multiplication stage. It's a completely different set of skills. Some people are here and they never get out of the hustle. They're always hustling. But at some point you have to transition, which means you need a different framework of mind. You need different skill sets. What are those skill sets? You need to be more aware of finance. You need to be more aware of your bankroll. You need to be more aware of your expenditure. When you have a lot of money, bro, you're not managing your cash flow and your expenses, assuming that money's always going to come in. So if you're making money but not multiplying it, you're always giving up your time. Now you're multiplying your money. If you don't know how to keep it, you're wasting your time when you were creating it. Mm-hmm. So mindset needs to be completely different. You need to evaluate where you currently are in your life and ask yourself, how do I get to the next stage? And evaluate the people that are the next stage and ask them. Simple. Ask people. I ask people so many questions. I have my bankers that manage my money, my wealth management bankers. I ask them questions like, hey, do you have like any advice on how I should invest my money? Do you have any advice on like how I should wire money? Do you have any advice on how I should talk to other bankers? And I ask these guys for advice on how to get to the next level. Mm-hmm. So what do you need to do? Find those people, put yourself in the right rooms. What did we talk about? Selling, persuading, networking. That is the basis. What are you selling people on? Sell people on the ability to help you. Sell people on the ability to give you the right information to get to the next level, right? It's all relationships. So learn how to create money, build a sustainable business. There's 3 ways to build businesses: digital businesses, physical businesses, or you can have services. That's it. Pick one. Services tends to be low risk, high reward because it's just a lot of hustle. Like you can go render a service, but you have to expend time. On the multiplication stage, learn how to invest, learn about dividends, learn how to buy real estate. And on the multiplication stage is learn how to build, CDs or cash deposits, learn how to buy T-bills, and learn how to buy a little bit more solid, less kind of insanity, some gold, some Bitcoin, buy some other currencies. But these require all different frameworks. And I think that people, what they want to do is all of these things at once. So they're like, I want to make money, but then I also want to invest the money. I want to get super rich. It's like, no. There's a reason why the billionaires have white hair. And that, I think, is the big premise of this entire podcast. And we can kind of wrap it with that, which is the journey of a glitch, the journey of becoming somebody. It's lifelong.
Yeah. Becoming
wealthy. Like, our objective here shouldn't be we do one podcast and it's over. It's we build a relationship, right? This is the beginning of a relationship, of a friendship, of hopefully 40, 50, 60 years down the road, I can see you succeeding, right? So my hope is that you don't just succeed today with this podcast, but that this podcast is a stepping stone towards whatever is the future goal, and that your goal is to do long-term business with long-term people. And you want to do long-term business, not this side hustle shit. So long-term perspective, be calm with yourself, understand that it's a journey, look at all the rich people, realize that they have white hair. And the only guy that doesn't have white hair, they're like the super geniuses.
Yeah.
And that you most likely are not going to fit that category. So with enough time, enough dedication, laying these bricks consistently, focusing on income producing skills, multiplication skills, preservation skills, and just taking it a day at a time, being authentic, understanding that the system is the system, but most times the system that we cause and the self-damage that we cause is worse than what comes from the outside. And if we can regulate these things, regulate ourselves, then we can actually be in control of our lives. We can't control a ton of the variables, but at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, if you look at yourself in the mirror and you said, well done, what else matters?
Yeah, no, it's an amazing way to put it. And that's really interesting. It's very interesting in the fact, you can't do everything, and you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, and you have to pick what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity cost. Like, you just have to pick what you're going to do. You can't take every train. So your goal is to do what? Apply the scientific method to evaluate what's the best train to take. What is the best vehicle for me to get to my goal? Maybe your goal isn't to get rich. That's okay. Like, maybe your goal is to become healthy. You can have a different goal at a different time. Wow.
Yeah.
You can change your goal tomorrow. You're not bound to your goal. You're not bound to your identity. So maybe today you just have to get fit. Maybe tomorrow your goal is to have a good attitude. Maybe the next day you know what I mean? Today I was in the Uber coming here, and I literally did 20 minutes of breath work intentionally because I just wasn't feeling good. It's like I had a lot of shit going on, but that was my task for the moment. I wasn't about making money. I had to
you wouldn't
manage.
have known when you walked in, so.
Well, then we're good.
Goal achieved.
Then we're good.
You did a good
then everything
job,
is achieved, right? So the thing is, there's a harmony of life, and there's so many things to balance in life, and to treat yourself with compassion, to treat yourself as a student of life, to treat yourself as somebody that's on the journey. And if we can band together, be humble, be honest, be fucking human, and understand that we're all trying to figure this out on this fucking, whether it's a ball of mud or a plate of mud running through space, who fucking knows, or a shape of a Dorito. Doesn't really make a difference. The point is, we're all in this shit together. So we might as well have a good time, work collectively, build together, be authentic, be good people, and hopefully we don't nuke each other in the process.
Yeah, well said. Just finally, what are you currently working on now that you can share with us, and how can people follow you, get in touch with you, if they want to work with you or anything like that?
Luke Belmar everywhere. And Capital Club. I've been building Capital Club since 2019. My premise was very simple. I wanted to build an AI-proof company with entrepreneurs that really wanted to level up, break free from the status quo of their culture, of their programming. And right now, the cumulative revenue of all club members is over $5 billion a year.
Wow.
So we are $1 billion club, and we're only growing. And my goal is just to be able to unite as many people, and hopefully they can leave better than when they first met me. And if that can happen, then Capital Club's done its job.
Well, I feel like I'm going to leave better.
I leave better too. I had a good time. Yeah.
So no, I feel like I learned a lot. I really did. There's one thing I Oh, the one thing that I will really take away that I really liked, which was just personal for me, was the whole manifesting thing and just like really just believing. I thought that was really powerful.
It's so powerful because once you understand that you can control the future of your life, it gives you the single most powerful emotion that you can feel, hope. And most people live in a state of quiet desperation. They can't pay their bills. They don't feel healthy. They wake up and they're anxious. So why are these things taking place? And if you can address that and understand that if you want to feel different, you must believe that that which you want is already yours and that time-space continuum just has to catch up.
Yeah. I thought that was really powerful.
You can live a great life.
Well, Luke, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Me.
Thank you so much for going into so much detail and so many different topics. Thought it was really valuable. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this show, then don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And of course, follow Luke on social media. There's just so much value there. We'll see you all next week.